Welcome back to Digital Wandering. Aren't you so lucky to be back here with me? And I have a whole brand new machine that I wanted to show today. It's the iBook G4. This is only my second PowerPC machine and the first PowerPC machine that I've shown on the channel. I've only had this for less than a week, and this is the oldest version of Mac OS that I've ever used. So Mac OS 10 that I ever used. I have used Mac OS 9, but haven't shown on the channel yet, but I will eventually. But this is Mac OS 10.4.11, so this is Tiger. Tiger was released in 2005, and this is long since out of date. I think Tiger hasn't been supported by Apple since 2010, so it's been 10 years since it's been supported by Apple. And this machine is a used machine, obviously, and it is maxed out in the memory. So as you see here, if you can pick it up, normally I use screen recording software, but I wasn't able to find any that I could get to work on this machine, so I am now recording the screen. So hopefully you'll be able to see right now the memory is 1.25 gigabytes, 1.07 gigahertz processor. And I am really having fun with macOS Tiger. Again, this is the oldest version of macOS 10 that I've ever used. And it is, and the wallpapers you're seeing is wallpapers I've added. These are obviously not the official Apple wallpapers. And I guess I'm in the Tracy Ellis Ross section of the wallpaper roll, so there you go. But anyway, this is a very interesting version and of Mac OS 10. Really, and the first version I ever actually used of Mac OS 10 was Leopard, the version that came after this. And there's a lot of similarities, probably more similarities than differences between Leopard and this version. So it feels very comfortable. I don't know. I do want to try more OS 10 versions that are prior to this, like Panther and Jaguar. I really want to try those. But after using this for about almost a week, this version feels fairly comfortable for me. And I don't know, going back further and losing more features, I don't know how much fun that would be, but it will still be an experience that I'm interested in having, and I'm not sure exactly when. So right now I'm opening up Safari. This is a very old version of Safari again. Hasn't been supported by Apple for 10 years. But I tell you what, I really enjoy using this version of Safari, even though it's so old and you probably shouldn't use it since it is out of date. And I just want to show you what some websites look like. Obviously, we're on Google right now. And Google here looks, I guess, pretty much the same as you would expect. Now, even though this is a browser that's 10 years old, doesn't have a lot of functionality now, admittedly. It probably can access 1%, 10% of websites. Most modern websites will not work, but I just want to show you a few. Let's just go to Amazon here to see what that looks like on a machine this old. So Amazon is still partially functional. I'm not trying to make a purchase or sign into any Amazon account on here, so I don't know how it would actually work as far as actually purchasing a product. Could you actually do it? But it looks fairly functional. And I tell you what, and I'll show it eventually on the channel, Snow Leopard, even though it's a few versions after this, Snow Leopard Mac OS 10.6, doesn't look that much different than this. As of 2020, very recently, within probably a year ago, Snow Leopard was still fairly functional, but it's gone south. But we'll see that eventually. But yeah, this is probably still a functional version. Let's just throw something in here just to see one of my favorite movies, Code Unknown. And this is very difficult here because I have to reach around the camera to do it. One other thing I like about Safari is fairly responsive. on this machine. Since it's maxed out RAM, even it responds very well, this old version of Safari, and it pulls up the movie. And we're actually not going to actually make a purchase here, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like on a 10-year-old browser. I'm trying to scroll here. It's really, the formatting is really, so these are the buy buttons. Let's just see what happens if we try to buy this movie. It should ask me to sign in. You know what? It's not even functional. Oh, wait a minute, it is. It's beach balling right now. I'm just curious to see what it does next. Yeah, so it's asking me to sign into an account. So who knows? You might be able to make a purchase. It's still apparently secure browsing, according to what it says here. So take it however you may want to take this, but it looks like it may still be partially functional. Let's look at eBay here. So I just want to look at some major websites and what it looks like on a browser this old. And again, let's just look at here. I didn't do this yet. So about Safari. So this is Safari 4.1.3. And as you see, it's 2010 was the end of the line for this version of Safari here. And you see eBay, you miss a lot of elements, even in Amazon. A lot of the elements you would see on a modern browser are not there. Let's just look at here if we were trying to purchase an iBook, what that would look like. Let's put G4, the same type of model that we have here. I'm hoping everything remains in frame here because I'm looking at the screen and not at the camera. But I think I have things pretty much lined up for the most part. See how the formatting is off, but it does show you, you know, and you see some of the different prices that you can get here. So if you wanted to play around with one of these machines, it is capable of doing so. Most websites, so if you wanted to, most websites, let's just look at Apple's website and how a lot of the elements you would normally see on Apple's website will not show up on this old browser. Apple's website for me is like the canary in the coal mine. I mean, if you have even a slightly out of date browser, Apple's website is one of the first ones that will start showing some problems. So you can go to a lot of other websites and they'll be fine, but Apple's website will not actually show all the elements. Apple's website is extremely visual, and a lot of the pictures will not show up if you don't have the most modern browser. So this one, it does show that one image there, but there's going to be a lot of missing elements to the page. I'm surprised that it's able to pull it up actually, because Apple's website really requires a modern web browser, but you can still access it. You wouldn't be able to really do anything here. Like I doubt you'd be able to make a purchase at all. But see, we have the iPhone 12 Pro, which is the current model just released, and a lot of the text shows up, but most of the images, which is a big part of how Apple designs the website, is going to be missing. But you could still read broken text here, and so it's not super functional, but you can pull it up. A lot of websites you're not going to be able to pull up on here. So these are websites that have already dragged into the bookmarks. So these are websites that are accessible. One website that looks up really good on this old browser, it'll give you the certificate saying having some difficulty with the security settings, but once it actually loads, everymac.com really looks about the same as it would look on a modern browser. So that's one of the successes here. It actually looks like this on Casilla on OS 9 too, which I hopefully have a chance to show. So here's the this is actually the PowerBook G4, which is, I guess, the pro model of this time. The iBook, which I have here, the iBook G4, the device I'm actually using, was like the consumer device. So it's the same difference of MacBook and MacBook Pro now. And this is the 2004. hope to add a link to this into the description on the video. So this is where we at right here. This is the 12-inch model too. So here we are right here. This is it. This is it. This is what we got. I want to show, let's see if there's any other website. I don't want to spend too much time on this. One thing you can do is, this is CNN Lite. One thing that's really important on these old websites, or on old browsers, I should say, is really difficult to find news. There's only a few news sites that will actually work here on this old browser. CNN, I think you can actually go to the main site, but the easiest to navigate on this old browser is the CNN Lite, which is the text-based version of the headlines. There's also one for NPR as well. National Public Radio for the United States, they have a text-only browser that's still functional on this old, text-only website that's still functional on this old browser. So that's really interesting. So you do have workarounds. Most sites will not work on here. I would say 99% of sites will not work. But I've been on the internet a long time, so I recognize, I've been looking at websites for a long time. The easiest sites that this browser can do is that you can see this is not encrypted, an encrypted website. So there's millions of websites out here that do not have proper encryption. On these old browsers, they can still function on these old websites. Some of these websites are still very valuable. They have a lot of great information. Like this site has great maps, but it's not encrypted. Your traffic on these sites are not encrypted. So that is an issue. But these old browsers can still handle these websites very well because they were made during the time when these browsers were current, and they're still hosted. One of the problems is that a lot of these old websites, they probably haven't been updated in a long time, but if they have evergreen information, it may be still useful for you. Like this is learning languages, how to learn languages. It has a lot of different information on learning languages. So I've been on the web for so long that I know a lot of these old websites. I've had them bookmarked for years, and I know that they can still be accessible on these old browsers. One thing that's really weird about here with the trackpad is really sensitive, and sometimes when you just hover over something, and I didn't really apply pressure, it will just activate whatever link I'm hovering over at that time. So that just happened when I just pulled up that picture. Not a big problem, but it's something that's really weird. It's very sensitive. This machine in and of itself is really well, let me see, msn.com. Let me see, this is the main page, and this still seems to be fairly accessible. So that's fairly interesting. Not a lot of websites are going to be very accessible. But if you were using this as your main computer, which I'm not, I think you'll be able to find websites. If you were constantly searching, you could find websites that will still be functional on this old version of Safari. But the reality is you don't actually have to use this. I enjoy using it because it is fast and responsive, even though it doesn't access a lot of websites. But you can use a more modern website like TenFourFox. TenFourFox is a website, or excuse me, a web browser that's designed to work on these old versions of macOS. It's designed to work on macOS 10.4 and 10.5, Tiger and Leopard. This is the version that's designed for G4 machines. And now the one thing is, although it is designed to work and navigate the modern web, it is fairly slow. And that's why sometimes I go and use Safari, even though Safari is not that accessible with modern websites. Let's just pull up, let's see, like the New York Times. The New York Times will not be accessible on the old Safari on this site, but it will be accessible. I'm having a hard time typing here, reaching around the camera, and I actually spelled New York Times wrong, but it should still pull up. Let's see what happens. I spelled it with a Z, the Times. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see. Now you can see how this browser, it will be able to pull up the modern New York Times, but it's not fast. And that's just because of, it's nothing to do with the browser. The developers for this browser do an excellent job, but these machines are just so old. This machine is from 2004, 16 years. It was released 16 years ago as of today. All right, let's see. So, okay, so it's still loading. That wasn't that bad. It didn't take a whole long time for it to load. And as you see, we're on the current front page for the New York Times. Let's see if we beach ball. We haven't beach balled. That's great. So that's excellent. Let's just see YouTube here. Let's see what that looks like here. Okay. All right, now it's still loading the Google search result page. Okay, there we go. One thing is, because it does struggle a bit to pull up the page in its entirety, and it can often beach ball. We'll probably have that issue here with YouTube. Let's see what happens. This is still an excellent computer, but because most of the software, if you're going to run Mac OS on here, I guess there is options to run Linux. I don't know how many Linux distros are still being supported for a PowerPC Macs. There's probably not many, maybe one or two, and it just depends on whether you actually like that particular version of Linux or not. Whether you want to put it on a PowerPC machine. I like using Mac OS, so even though this is old and out of date, I in general prefer to use this than Linux. And I'm using this to have fun with the old version, so it's just not something I'm interested in doing and running Linux on these machines, even though I love Linux. In general, I just use Mac OS. Either I use the modern versions for real work and for most of my daily heavy lifting, and I use these old versions for fun. I always suggest that you use a new version of Mac OS if you're trying to actually do work. If you want to use Mac OS, or you can use Windows or Linux. Use a modern version that's still being supported. Okay, so is this beach balling a little bit? I think at this point we could try to pull this up, and I think I've turned off the volume, so it's not going. You won't actually hear any music. A lot of my tests I use, because this always appears as a default when you're not signed into YouTube. That lo-fi hip hop radio, that's almost always one of the main search results. If you're pulling up YouTube and you're not signed into your actual account, it just pulls that up. There's certain videos that they always have on the front page when you're not signed in, and this is one of them. Okay, so it's I don't know. Okay, so this gave me a message saying it is not compatible. Now, TenFourFox is compatible with YouTube, but certain videos give that message. And I think that message might come up when it's a live video. Let's see if we can get one that is not a live video, where it's not a live feed. Let's just end. I don't want to do too much scrolling here. ET Canada. So what is this? Entertainment Tonight Canada. Okay. Let's see what happens with this. I don't really care about the video at this point. I just want to pull up a sample video just to see how it operates. If you're going to use this machine and you're using it with software that runs natively, that doesn't require any connection to the internet, you're going to have pretty much smooth performance mostly. Even if you're using something that connects to the internet that's actually old software that was current at the time when these machines came up, you'll have a lot smoother performance. When you're trying to do modern tasks with these computers, it's going to struggle. Okay, now let's see if this actually plays. In general, on YouTube on these machines, I put it on very low settings. Let me just check and see what this is on right now. It's still struggling to play the video here. And a lot of times it will actually play as a slideshow. Now I don't have the audio on. It could be actually playing the audio at this time. Let's just check on that real quick. Let's just turn on the. There's nothing.
To find a horse, so I thought I should.
So you see.
One of the horse studs and
so the audio is playing right now. I just muted it. It is playing, but the video feed is not. It's just like a slideshow, just multiple still images. It's not beach balling though, so it's just struggling. Another thing that's pretty cool is that the machine is still fairly quiet right now. And look at this, it's on 144p and it's still struggling here. Let's see. I'm just gonna quit TenFourFox right now. So we didn't test a lot of TenFourFox. We just went to New York Times and YouTube. I do want to show one other thing from TenFourFox. Once this, okay, the browser just closed. This is a great movie, The Dreamers. I think I have a lot of wallpapers from this that I found online, so we may have another that pops up. Another thing that TenFourFox offers is the TenFourFoxBox, where it runs an individual website in a window that acts almost like an application. And that at times is a little faster, it runs smoother than running it in the browser. So I have one here for a TenFourFox box that I created for YouTube. And let's just see if there's any difference with this. I don't know if it will be that much of a difference. Often you can get a video to play easier as a TenFourFox box than in the browser. But I have mixed results. When you're using these old machines, sometimes you get good results one day and get bad results the next day. Sometimes you might want to shut down the machine or restart it and try again, and you'll get better results. Doing modern web browsing on these old machines is always going to be an adventure, but it can be fun. Hopefully we'll be able to find that same video. I don't think it's going to show that same video here. I like the video right here with the curious seal. So let's see if we can watch that one. So I just clicked on it. It is very slow. And often you don't want to click multiple times because sometimes you'll click and you're not sure if it registered the click or not. Often it did. And I just want to also make sure this autoplay is turned off because that is very annoying on, I don't know if it did pick up my click. See, that was just an option where I clicked it and it didn't move at first. I wasn't sure if it actually registered. In general, I always try to remember that it takes a lot of time for it to respond to a click, and it's often best not to keep clicking. Because what you'll do is turn autoplay on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. Okay, let's see if this is on, hopefully on 144p or 240p. I've had success with that where the videos were responding. So it's at 240 right now, but it is struggling. Let's see if we can go to 144, if that makes any difference. And try 144 on a modern machine. You'll see how low res that is. I mean, it's just ridiculous on a modern machine. It looks terrible. But on an old machine like this, it's often still accessible or acceptable is what I'm trying to say. Look at this thing. It's just unbelievable. And let's just see if the audio is playing. You see, the audio is playing just fine, but the image. Okay, we had enough of this. It's not really. In the past, I've been able to, when you reduce the settings, see a continuous video play, but it's really struggling right now. Okay, here we go. It might have just caught up a little bit. He's starting to move as opposed to just one frame every 5 seconds. Yeah, it's still struggling. It's still struggling. Okay, that's enough, you know. So it is an adventure trying to use YouTube on this machine. Okay, so what else can we show here? Let's just look at some video playback. And actually, before we do the video playback, I just want to also show how this machine handles discs like CDs and DVDs. It doesn't handle it well. Now, this machine, it says on the everymac.com, if I'm not mistaken, that this has a combo drive or should have a combo drive. I interpret combo drive as being able to play CDs and DVDs. But I think the combo drive was removed. This machine was refurbished by the seller, and they did a really good job. It's in great condition. It's clean. But I think they removed the combo drive and maybe put in a CD drive because DVDs do not work on this machine, or it will not mount them. Let me see if I can get this in there. So I just put in the Orson Welles DVD for Dr. Arcaden, which is a great movie. I haven't watched it in a while, but it is a good movie. So you just spit out the DVD. So DVDs are no-go. Let's try a CD-ROM, and right now I have a Immemory CD-ROM by Chris Marker. This CD-ROM was designed for 10.4.11, which I have here, or later. So it also works on Leopard. I have a machine on Snow Leopard, and it mounts it, but that DVD player, or that DVD CD player, the Super Drive player on that machine, it's kind of messed up, so it doesn't function that well. Now, I tried this before in this machine, and it mounted it, but I'm having difficulty putting this in here. Okay, there we go. Now, let's see if it mounts it. Now, the CD drive in this machine, the seller, even in the description, said they could not state whether the CD drive would work or not. Now, it does work, but the machine gets very loud when it mounts a CD. I mounted an audio CD, and it mounted and it played it, but it was so much noise that it wasn't really something that was enjoyable. So now I'm opening it up. So it is mounting, it is operating. If you're curious about this CD-ROM, actually someone uploaded the entire CD-ROM contents on YouTube, and you can hear the noise from the CD-ROM here. So I don't know how long we're going to be doing this. We'll be just doing this for probably about 30 seconds or so. I'm not going to do a whole lot here. The audio CD I put in here, it didn't mount it at first. CD-ROMs seem to always mount, but the audio CD, I put it in there and it didn't register it at all. I had to restart the machine, and once it restarted, it then showed up and mounted, and then it played. When I tried to play the music, it opens up iTunes. iTunes is the music player on this device, or the default music player, and it played the CD tracks, but it was so loud. What the heck is going on here? Okay, so this is the section. I think I'm doing this right. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's just let's exit this before it becomes too much here. And all right, so we got quit. So CD-ROMs work, but this is actually the only CD-ROM that I have. So, and I like Chris Marker's movies, so I actually bought the CD-ROM when I didn't have a machine to play it on. So now I have a machine to play it on, but it doesn't play it very well. So that's a problem. All right, let's exit. Let's eject that. But let's see how this thing does movies, okay? So, and let's stick with the theme of Chris Marker here. And we have one of his famous movies, Jetée. Let's see what that looks like on here. Now, it should launch QuickTime. And let's just look at the QuickTime player that we have on here on this machine. 7.6.4. Interesting. And do I still have this? Okay, yeah, we still have volume turned down. But I just want to show you what this looks like on here. Let's advance it a little bit so we can get, let's just look at some of, so this plays very well. Now, just to let you know, this movie is composed of still images, so this is normal. So this is not an issue with the video playback. This is a movie that's made of still photographs, so this is how it's supposed to look. So this looks like the YouTube videos, but this is how it is by design. So yeah, this looks great. I did put another movie in here, standard definition movie, and it skipped and it didn't play it well. But the other movies that I have that are standard definition seem to play fairly well. And these are movies that I'll play on a modern Mac, so it can still play a lot of the videos that you would use on a modern Mac, as long as the resolution isn't too crazy. Like 1080p, I don't know. I think it will struggle to do 1080p movies. 720p will probably even struggle a lot. So 480p or 360p will probably be a little bit better. So, that looks pretty good. This is a pretty decent media machine. Photos are pretty decent. The preview handles photos, and let's look at, let me see here. Okay. Let's see the manual for this. Okay, let's look at the manual for the iBook G4. This is the PDF. And you see how PDFs look pretty good on there. You can, you can zoom in. I mean, this is fairly low resolution, these screens on these old computers compared to what we have now. But overall, it's very functional. Because they are fairly low resolution, certain things just will not look all that great on here. If it's a very high resolution image, it will display it. Normally what it will do first is to crop it so it fits the screen. Okay, let's see. Let's look at a really large resolution image. See, this is a huge resolution image. Let's see if we can go to actual size and see what it does here. So then it unleashes those scroll bars. And you can still zoom in. You see how... So it will work with you can work with this. A modern machine will display these things a lot better, but it will still work. But yeah, I think that's basically what I want to show today. This is a great buy. I really having a lot of fun with this machine. I think you will too if you want to try out a machine like this. and you can get them fairly cheap online on places like eBay or wherever your preferred place to go. Facebook, Craigslist, wherever you go. You can. I like to go to eBay because there's like a lot of Mac resellers there who seem to do a really good job with these Macs. So that's normally my go-to place. But go to wherever you feel comfortable. But yeah, I probably will show this Mac, this iBook, excuse me, in future. But yeah, this is Digital Wandering signing off.